Welcome, everyone, to another adventure into reality. Come one, come all, come into the chitter chat room and come on and say hello in the chat. Hola, hello. And I make a first statement to everyone that's currently in the chat room that has your hand raised. You weren't told to raise your hand yet. Lower your hands. We have not engaged that. Next, who knows what the La Chancla is? If you understand that pre-chat room, so you'll be able to come in here and understand the chancla life. It's Mexican. It's a Mexican style. I come from a Greek family, and the shoe is a very common projectile item in the mom's arsenal of kid control. The other is the wooden spoon. Many family styles use it. If anybody has any La Chancla stories they'd like to share, or anything else they'd like to share about growing up with children and advice for children in the future, today's going to be an open call-in time, whatever questions you have. But if somebody wants to take 15 minutes and actually do a quick interview with me, for those of you that raise your hand, Robert will be looking in the chat room who actually wants to do a quick interview with me, brushing up on your skills, test your multidimensional capacities. So now we are going to say, it is time to raise your hand, raise your hand, raise your hand. Look at all those hands coming up. There we go. But not everyone's raised their hand. A bunch of little chicken shits in there right now. All those people who haven't raised their hands and are being chicken shits, maybe you should raise your hand. There we go. We got some more. All right, Robert, let's spin up the infinite wheel of callers and see who is next.
All right, I'm closing my eyes on this one. And Maggie, you're unmuted.
Maggie, are you there?
Hi, I'm here.
Hi. Where are you calling from today?
I'm calling from the Yukon.
The Yukon. Welcome to the show. Did you grow up in a shoe-throwing family?
No, but I got the wooden spoon a few times.
Yes, I got the wooden spoon a few times. I have an interesting story. My oldest brother, he was 8 years older than me, and he figured out how to tighten up his butt cheeks really hard. And when he went to go get the spoon, he broke it. She broke it on him.
I remember an experience. My mom was chasing me, and I decided to put my hands there to protect myself, and I got some really big bruises. I just remember her putting my hands in the freezer and saying, "Well, don't put your hands there next time."
Actually, I remember getting whacked on the knuckles, trying to do the same thing, trying to cover it up and getting the rim of the spoon on the knuckle. Yeah.
Fun times.
So what do you want to talk about today?
Oh, wow. So many things. You're talking about raising children, and that's, I guess, one of the aspects. I have a 13-month-old, and I've been just really trying to step into working with him on an awareness level that I feel like I didn't get when I was growing up. And so, yeah, the challenge there is just how can I do things differently that I took for granted.
Fair thing. I don't have children. That doesn't mean I don't understand the nature of growing as a mother and father. I encounter this in my private sessions all the time. And the first thing I tell every mother and father, don't imprint on your child over spirituality. Mm-hmm. Don't force telepathy. You will screw the child up at an early age and take their innocence away from far too early.
Yeah, and something that I've discovered in yoga and stuff like that is, like, as we get older, we're in the yin phase. So we need to do kind of the slower motions, whereas babies are still growing. They're in the motion phase, so they need to interact with the world and to see.
They need spatial awareness,
Yeah,
artistic projects, and languages and animals.
right,
And then
right, yes,
multiple languages, and then animals. Now, I will
yes,
reiterate what I said. There are a lot of parents who think their child comes out and is the next Jesus Christ, or is a Buddha child, or is this. That's you imprinting on that child.
yeah, yeah. I hear you.
And this goes for all the parents that are out there. You really want to give your child a great upbringing, work on yourself. The child will reflect you.
Yeah,
Okay?
yes, and like okay, so I talked to you for the first time in October, which was super terrifying and exciting for me, and it totally changed a lot of things for me. And one of the things you said was getting that the joy of prayer, um, which I realized I went on this journey of reconnecting with the drum and connecting with traditional songs, and just that practice at home has made him interactive with the drum and singing with me, and in that way, I think I'm learning to play with him, and he's bringing me out of my shell in just wonderful ways. But at the same time, the shadow work that I've been doing, it's been a journey in itself of just knowing when that stuff comes up,
Mm-hmm.
how to interact with it, because the more I uncover it, the more intense it gets, and it's keeping that in check when I'm around my child.
Where did you learn to do shadow work from?
I've Everything I've done on my own, um, from my own intuitive process.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
But
so
you had to learn about it from
I,
somewhere.
yeah, I did. When you suggested it, I went on and I found the Carl Jung website, um, and started connecting how the process of identifying the shadow and
Mm-hmm.
the seeing the personas and the archetypes, and
Do you
um,
do that around your child?
I feel like I kind of it's kind of muddled. I just do it whenever I can.
So the first thing about shadow work, you don't let it run you.
Right.
And this is
So
the
it
problem with self-education. There's basic tools and techniques that are vital to understand. If you just willy-nilly it whenever it comes up and does it without plan and strategy behind it, it runs you.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
that
I think
means
that's
your child absorbs you doing shadow work far too early for it to be. It doesn't even have a shadow yet.
right. Yeah.
Okay?
Oh my god. Yeah.
So this is
No.
to make a separation. Have your fun time with the child, but in your alone time, when you're having your own personal time, then the next thing is shadow work can be combative after a while. And then that's
Mhm.
all it turns out to be, combat.
Yeah. Well, I've started actually going through the playlist, and the global narrative is really very interesting to me because of or no, I started with the origins of war, and just the talk, the way you guys were talking about, um, uh, like how we can create demons, and how
Self-created demons. Yeah.
when you go to uh, combat them, you have to be very careful because you could become like them trying to fight them. And so yeah, so
Mm-hmm.
it's that balance of seeing
So,
where I can be more peaceful with it.
so other than shadow work and prayer work, what other stuff have you evolved into?
um, well, the revocations, you gave me a couple personal ones that I've been using, as well as the ones on your website. So the my mom's sending me up a device to record myself speaking them, and I'm just giving myself the chance to get used to the language so I can start using it on the fly. and create my own revocations and invocations.
Okay. What about any ceremonies or anything like that?
So I did the winter solstice one that provided the boot camp. But on my own, I've just been practicing little ceremonies with the full moon. But they're very, like, with everything, I'm so self-taught. It's most at best muddled. So I go in with kind of a rough invocation and
So let me ask
and
you
intentions.
let me ask you a really probative question.
Okay.
How long have you been a do-it-yourselfer?
All my life.
Who taught you that?
Well, I don't know. I've thought about this for a while, and I feel like my lack of teachers caused me to step up and teach myself. I just wasn't feeling fulfilled from my caretakers.
Mm-hmm. So why didn't you go out and get some kind of extended education and pick
Oh
up some
yeah,
manuals and books?
well, okay. So this is that next step that your first our first conversation brought me to was effort, and it made me realize, my lack of focus and where I need to step up and take on more education. I've done it all myself. I've gone pretty much as far as I can, and I need to.
It's actually limiting you right now.
I need to step into that education now. I find my experience, I held back from a lot of it because I had this under feeling that it was all wrong, and so I kind of just shut myself off from it.
This is why you can't step into education. You have to embrace it. As long as you think you're stepping into it, you will have already lost the point of education. It's an embracing factor and a surrendering to, I can no longer simply do this on my own without some kind of manuals, some kind of tutoring and extended education, because you're missing all the key points in certain subject matters. And let's say 15 years ago you began that process, you'd be a radically different person than you are today.
Yeah. And so something I'm realizing with that whole purging process that I'm in is that my focus has been just completely destroyed when it comes to education.
Because you've been self-educating for so long, you don't even know what real focus is.
Right. So this year I've dedicated to the self-healing process and the purging.
And it shows.
That I'm hoping will, bring my focus back. I feel like the lack of focus
education will not, that will not, purging and all that will not bring back focus. It will not bring back that. No,
effort.
That's extraordinary effort. And when I mean extraordinary effort, extraordinary because you don't know what extraordinary effort is anymore. You've been YouTube PhDing it for too long, videosing for too long, not really reading a manual and book that's got organized thoughts and structures, tools, tips, and techniques, which you have to self-apply. Instead of randomly practicing a technique here and there and here willy-nilly.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. You got to put the saddle on the horse of you and ride yourself and tame it. Okay.
Yeah.
So stop hoping for focus. Focus is earned, learned, and relearned.
Okay, so then I do have a question, if I may ask.
Okay.
Just with the self-healing, because that's my focus right now, is for, I guess, as you call it, my DNA skin to what type of eating style. So when I started the process, I helped my mom a lot because she's a renal patient, and I started out with proper food combining, which really seemed to help my body responded well to it. But it just seems like there's something, I don't know, that I'm not quite seeing, because I had a ulcer problem. So I know that has to do with like just cleaning my
Well,
intestines.
what diet are you on right now?
Just whatever. I normally like make sure that I eat salads and I make my own dressings, and um, I do
Mhm.
tend to eat a lot of rice because I love rice.
Okay.
Um,
And meats?
Meat. I never did make the switch to grass-fed meats. They're just,
That's not important. Are you still eating red meat?
yep.
What about pork or chicken or fish?
Pork is very rare. I went paleo for a little bit to know that I do need to incorporate fish into my diet weekly. Um, and chicken, yeah, fish, chicken, and red meat. Pork is pretty rare.
Are you counting your protein?
I no, I don't really know how to do that.
So just look on your serving sizes. Look on the stuff that you buy. If a piece of chicken has 10 grams of protein and egg has 6 grams of protein, you got to begin to highly educate yourself on the volume of protein that you're having each and every day.
Because
Okay?
I'm getting too much.
You're not getting enough regularly. Okay? You should be
Really?
averaging 40 grams of protein in a day. And I will advise you also, you cannot live off of half your protein coming out of shakes. And there's a lot of people in the chat room scratching their head, go, what do you mean? Well, after a while, if you live the protein shake life, you lose the majority of the positive stuff inside your intestinal tract that break down foods.
Right. So when I went paleo, was that like the best for me?
Your child is 13. Are you breastfeeding?
Yeah.
And in the breastfeeding journey, are you having any issues with milk production?
Yeah, right off the bat, actually, I'm actually on domperidone to create the lactate.
I think at this point, paleo will not be the journey. How much longer are you intending to breastfeed for?
So I've begun the weaning process. So if I run out of milk during that process, then he'll get the weaning. And we'll see if my body just picks up once I drop it.
Um,
If it does keep going, then I'll go up to 2 years.
okay, so another 7 months if you keep going. So
Yeah.
this is my first piece of advice. If you're going to continue to breastfeed, the most important thing for you to start doing is counting protein and carbs. And it's not about the diet or the quality for you right now. It's learning the mechanical process and holding yourself accountable to counting what you're eating and putting it in a journal or a book. Okay?
Yeah.
That's
So
the
you
most
said,
important thing for your part of your journey now. If you end up stop breastfeeding in the next couple months, I would go hardcore into paleo for 6 to 8 months and then reevaluate where you are after the 6 to 8 months of a really strict paleo. Okay?
so so currently right now, my protein and carbs need to be higher.
Yes, you need to count every day because the majority of the days you're getting about 16 to 20 grams of protein. And then another day you might have 31, and another day you may have 8, and another day you may have 12, but you're never peaking at the average of 40 grams in a day.
So 40 grams of protein, and what about carbs?
You should have very little carbs, low carbs.
Very little. Okay.
Yes. Okay. But you're still allowed about 18 grams of carbs. This is where picking up some really advanced nutrition books, as well as looking at the other different books, like the really hardcore paleo books.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really about the sugars and not the carbs. So there are certain breads that you could have as an alternative that they have carbs, but they're very low in sugars.
Right. Okay.
And there's a lot of protein in plants out there too, but you have to be educated. And this is where so many of the vegans completely fail at being a vegan. They don't get the next level of education, which is all of the other protein concepts out there, and then learning what's called the vegan calculator. If it gives you 12 grams of protein and it gives you 400 calories, but costs you 600 calories to burn, you're in the negative with your diet.
Right.
Okay? This is why it's so vitally important to begin the journey of calculating and counting what you're eating. Okay? Darling, I got to let you go and move on to my next caller. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Thank you, Andrew.
Okay. All right, Robert, let's spin up the wheel of callers and see who's next.
Alrighty, next caller is Billy McCosker.
Billy, are you there?
Hey, Andrew, how you going?
Good. You still in Australia?
Yeah, in the capital city, Canberra.
Ooh, Canberra. Welcome. What do you want to talk about today?
So I just wanted to focus on you for a little bit, actually, just to start with.
Okay.
Don't know what I was gonna ask you, but I guess what was coming up was kind of self-parenting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who you parenting? Yourself?
Yeah, like yourself. I guess because in a way everybody kind of is a parent to themselves. So just something that popped up. I thought maybe there could be a story in there for you to kick off with about yourself or
Self-parenting. I don't know if it's just the term or how I identified in myself growing up. And then as I began older, holding myself accountable versus self-parenting. Parenting has a connective factor, a deeper relationship. And for me, it was really what it took for me to be disciplined, self-accountable, to understood that the journey to self-mastery is me and only me. The inner work is something you can only do with yourself. So instead of self-parenting, I guess I would call it a little something different, but we can stick with that. I had to educate myself in a lot of subject matters, but I read voracious amounts of books. And then there were times I had to put all the books down and put into application what I had learned. And there were other parts of the journeys where I started doing sweat lodge with the different Native American communities in my area, quite a bit of them. Greatly advanced my spirit, my capacity to prayer. And then understanding that there was a limitation in those groups and that I had to have my completely own practice separate of the groups that I enjoyed sharing prayer time with. And that evolved into my network of many selves waiting for me at the fire to listen to what I had to say and then have something to say back to me. That evolved my ceremonial life, which jumped me into my healing career. Massage therapy, cranial sacral therapy, myofascial release, Reiki, quantum healing, quantum touch, so on and so forth, all the different skill sets that I went out and learned. Because I understood I was always learning something. And I was always not necessarily for the next guru or the next skill set, though everyone's journey to mastering something has something special to teach someone else on the journey to mastering that subject matter. So I liked working with the true people out there that had mastered a skill and liked being teachers. So on the journey to that next level of education and then applying it to my own lifestyle and then having to get out of construction and limo driving because that was what was paying the bills. It was, good money. But ultimately, I had to make a leap out of that journey and say that era of my history, those careers are done. And all this time that I had been doing it for a hobby and for fun, and then on a side hobby and a little money here and there, but construction and limo took up so much of my effort and time until I started cutting it down and cutting it down and cutting it down and doing it was from 2 days a week at the clinic to 5 days a week at the clinic and getting 40 clients, every week to week to week, and seeing that I was wanted in such a way that it made it very easy for me to transition to that healing journey and going to, psychic fairs, motorcycle shows. I did a whole 1,000-something motorcycle shows over a span of several years, and I went as a traveling psychic and healer, so on and so forth, and met some very unique people. So is that self-parenting?
Yeah, I just wanted to give you the spotlight and give you some time to share your story and speak
Thank
to
you.
everyone.
Thank you. And then the journey to radio, and as I've said many times, that was not something I really wanted to do back, in early 2009, 10, when Spirit said you need to take this skill beyond this, and you're not going to be doing the physical healings like you were doing before. You're not going to be doing sessions like you did before. We need you to evolve to this next level. And then went and did my first radio show October 31st, 2012. And then 5 days later, I've got a simulcast network. Spirit showed me the next level of evolution. And then 2013 to 2014, the next evolution. 2015 to 2016, the next evolution. 2017 to 2018, the next evolution. Repeatedly asking me to evolve the teacher state I had mastered many decades ago in teaching myself how to master a skill by being able to be taught. There are a lot of people who come into a situation and can't be taught because there's something in their brain, and immediately as they get something, they have to re-educate everyone around them, but never actually process it to themselves. And I talked about this on the Orchestra of Consciousness show with Martina, and that so many people are in this regurgitated teacher state. I never had that. I processed it all for myself, wrote about it, went 3, 4, 5, 6 redrafts in my mind of how to process and understand it. And then a decade later, it's simple information for me to not even cognitively remember. It's just there.
Beautiful. Well, I've told a lot of people, you're like the biggest inspiration I've had this whole lifetime. I've been on the path, I don't know, from a little bit before about 2011, had my awakening around then. And since, a little while after that, I found you on the radio, and I think I got some interference, so I didn't keep watching you, but yeah, I found you again, I think a few months later or something. And yeah, it's just amazing, where you're taking the spiritual narrative. I don't know whether you'd say that, but because you're taking a lot of us on a journey with you.
Oh yeah, a journey into self-mastery.
And
I remember a couple months ago you called in and we did a healing for you.
Okay?
Yeah. How has life been since then?
Well, I actually got some peace, I got some peace for a little while. And then I got back on my game and started expanding my prayers again. And then Bushka, they hit me pretty hard again. And that's why I'm back on the show. But I have tried everything I could do to help myself before I jump back on the call with you. So, but I do have a few things to bring up if hopefully they might be pretty interesting for you.
Okay, good.
All right. So what's been happening is, I'll just give you a bit of context. So obviously I expanded on the karmic retribution framework that you gave me, which was, it was a big learning for me. I was like, found all these aspects and spectrums within it that I expanded on. So that was fun. And, I'm embodying more of my warrior heart. So I think I'm getting a little bit of a attacked right now, so I'm kind of just feeling stuff around my heart. It's a bit hard for me to speak. And yeah, so I am fully defending myself and also attacking these negative collectives now. So I'm really standing up for myself in my heart space, utilizing the peacekeepers and the consciousness strike collectives in my prayers as well.
So I had a question. Hold on, before you go, are you poking the dragon?
I guess so, yeah.
Okay, keep going with what you're saying.
And then, so I got to a point where, kind of expanding my prayers into more layers of clearing, more layers of discovering different things I can do for my higher self and for myself, and the protection as well, going more into that. And sticking up for myself, empowering myself, and doing it from my heart space. And I guess where I'm at now is my guides and my higher self, something that they get brutally attacked right at the moment. And
Your guides?
yeah, my guides and my higher self.
No, that doesn't work that way.
Okay.
Some part of
me
you,
as well.
some part of you has bought into the battle game too much, and has created a myth and a story that is altering the rules of higher self. Higher self is beyond this game.
Yep. So I'm kind of like the self-created battle demon.
Self-perpetuating.
Self-perpetuating, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Which is an inverted warrior theme you've got going on. What does the warrior do when there's no war?
Makes peace, works on peace, I guess.
Nope, they're traumatized and have to go through their trauma release, and most of them don't. Then trains
So
for
I started doing my daily healing again after a little while after we had the last chat, which has been good. So I do a prayer every day for clearing different things, and then because I got a big healing list, and I've been going through different things that I've been finding. But yeah, so that's interesting. Okay. Because I went through everything that you mentioned on the last call and worked through everything and did it. And yeah, it's just from my understanding, Andrew, what's happening is like my like every time I go to talk to my guides or my higher self, they sound really incapacitated, and I'll figure it out because I'll go to do a command or a prayer or a healing, and normally I can go, okay, I'll do this right now in
then you need to retire those guides, because those guides are trying to incarnate on human world and stop being a guide, and you need to replace those guides. And the reason they sound incoherent or not coherently working with you is because they're in the fetus and the womb process, and yet still extending the guide duty to you. Some are even in the born process, and they can't be guides anymore. And there's going to come a point when they're IMs and they're no longer fetuses. Those won't be guides anymore.
Right. Interesting. Yeah.
So you're still working with the previous eras of history's guides, and you've got to take on modern guides. Yep. Was your mother spiritual and just denied it all?
Yeah, definitely.
That's why you took your guides on from your mother. And part of your birthing process is they were very young and powerful guides growing up, but knowing full well that they would have to be replaced by before your midlife crisis, which is what you're going through now, your mid-spiritual life crisis.
Wow, so interesting. Okay, cool. I can definitely do that. Kind of get some new guides, but I guess I'll leave it up to my higher self.
You have to have a retirement party for the existing ones.
Yeah. Yeah, and because what I've noticed is, like, I can do a prayer or a healing or a command in many, many places at once in, say revocations. I can do them like many different places into the future just in one reading. And for some reason, this multidimensional ability has been disabled from these attacks. And I'm only able to do something in one moment and then one other moment in the future or past. Not
because there's still fractalized U's not ready for the new guides.
Right.
Almost a temper tantrum version of yourself. No, I won't go any further. I don't want the new guides.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, that will solve a lot, I think. Because I've worked out a way to stop them from hijacking my telepathy again, but I do get the random beings talking to me, so I have to have a good discernment. I'm like, that being's not, beneficial, or operating from a pure source frequency. So yeah, I guess okay, cool. I can definitely do that. I've been doing a few little more ceremonies and doing all of my prayers and making sure that I do all of them every 3 days. So been keeping up with that.
What are you going to do for the summer solstice? Even though it's winter down there for you, I know.
Yeah, have a big fire so I can keep myself warm. I was actually hoping that what I wanted to do was, because it's the eclipse, the solar eclipse, as well as a new moon, I think, around the same time. Had this idea that I wanted to connect to all of my future selves that are doing ceremonies, all of my parallels that have done the sacred ceremony with fire, and call in the victories. And that's what I was thinking.
Why does it have to be that grand?
Well, it doesn't actually.
Okay. So you're still in a state of trying to figure out what's going on with you. And I talk about this perpetual war scenario you've got going on, perpetual self-perpetuating battle. Your journey should be about forging the weapons of war into tools of peace and enforcing that into many other timelines where the warrior is no longer needed, but still a major part of you.
Yep. So I think I can actually, what's coming to mind right now is there's a prayer that you just released, I think, on Facebook or
a prayer about prayers.
What's that?
Yeah, the prayer about prayers.
Yeah. And I think it, in one part of that or another prayer, it was talking about sharpening the for peace, not for attacking and war and stuff. And I read one of them and it kind of shook me, and I think that I can do that for myself in all the parallels that it would be.
Worry about this one and the corresponding ones that help you be in this one. Don't make it super high level. You don't need to go that far.
Okay. Yep.
Okay. So the ones that correspond you in your awakening here. Because you don't need a fractalized part of yourself 9 universes away that's sitting there with its thumb up its butt that doesn't have the awakening yet. Okay?
Yeah.
You don't need to motivate that part yet.
So interesting, Andrew. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I tell you what, this is definitely news to me.
The core U's. Just work on the core U's. The ones that support the awakening here, this lifetime.
Yep.
Okay.
Wow. So, I was thinking with this whole guide thing, that I guess I can just cancel soul contracts with the guides that I have, and then
No.
give.
You have to retire them and give them a retirement party and a freaking watch so they can move on.
Okay. Yep.
Honor their service, because they're done with not just you but the whole lineage. They've taught all they could teach, done all they can do. Now it's their time to be reborn.
Wow. Okay, that's a lot different to what I was going to try and do.
Mm-hmm. But you're just gonna fire him and pink slip him and walk away from him after 40,000 years of service?
Yeah, that's a different perspective on that. It's so interesting because I think my mum's from the same soul lineage as me, and we kind of got it paying off a bit of the karmic stuff with each other for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't be surprised, absolutely. The guides have been kind of transferred through the lineage,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so as you're retiring the old ones, you got to bring the new ones in too.
So what sort of, because you got to be careful about what guides you bring in, and whether that's up to your higher self or yourself.
But that's the paranoid warrior you talking.
Yeah.
Who hasn't gone into faith long enough to know that the right guides will be there in that moment and not be hijacked.
Yeah.
That's a broken faith.
Yes, I've definitely still got a lot on my healing list to get through. All right, cool. Well, I'll put in an intention and see who rocks up.
You got to do more than that.
Yeah.
Did you hear
Okay.
the show that I did with Martina on the agencies?
Is that for the guest? None of the monthly subscribers?
No. It was 4 shows ago. Orchestra of Consciousness Part 1. It would have been on Soul Family Agents and Agencies.
Yep.
So look for Orchestra of Consciousness 1. This is where you got to call on the highest vibration, frequency, and harmony Soul Family Agency to find you the right guides and guardians. Think of it like a headhunter group that finds high-level employees for corporations. Okay?
Yep.
And you got to start going through the interview process. Technically, they're interviewing you if you're worthy or not. Okay.
Yeah, right. It works that way.
Okay.
Yeah, that's interesting. So it's a bit kind of like I'll be looking for some employees, but they'll be looking at my what's it called, the bit of paper.
Yeah, your Akashic record.
Yeah.
Your permanent record,
record.
exactly.
Yeah.
I'll be looking at your permanent record.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, this feels like it's going to sort out a lot of issues for me.
Yeah.
Feeling the shift, definitely. Which is great because I still haven't been able to get back into my sessions yet. So which has been a bit disappointing, but I put too much faith in the beings that I hear and talk to and commune with, and they kind of didn't recommend that I start doing healing again just yet. So I haven't gotten back into that.
How long you been off for?
To be honest, Andrew, I think it's about 8 to 9 months I haven't been doing it. And I did a few cheeky sessions probably about 3 months ago. And that was great. I loved it.
You got to get back into it. You're going to lose a lot of your psychic social skills if you do.
That's right.
You took you a long time to earn those, and the world needs you now. And you've got to be able to use getting back into sessions to motivate you to do work on the other parts of yourself.
Okay. yeah, that's what I notice. We heal others as we heal ourselves, and the right people come to you, with the issue, like the spectrums and things within yourself that is going on as well.
Stop the war. Stop perpetuating the war cycle.
Mm.
Retire the warriors. That doesn't mean you're undefended.
Yep.
All right, brother, I got to let you go and move on to the next caller. Thank you so much for calling in.
Thank you, Andrew.
You're welcome. All right, Robert, let's spin up the wheel of callers and see who is next.
All righty, let's see. Melissa Roberts, you're unmuted with Andrew.
Melissa, are you there?
I am here. I am.
Hi, where are you calling from?
Canada.
Welcome to the show. What do you want to talk about today?
Just have to turn this down a little. How's that? Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you good.
Good. I just found you. I'm delighted. I'll just do this. Is it true that as people speak to you, they kind of have the opportunity to heal themselves?
Yes.
Yeah. And it seems like the healing would become more complex and beautiful if we came in aware of that.
Instead of aware, try to replace it with allowing. A lot of people disallow healing because of their harsh energies and traumas they've experienced.
Yeah, I could relate to something like that for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Still, yeah, it seems like as people call in and they're speaking with you, just knowing that the interaction like carries so much power would be a useful wrinkle to consider as you move through the process, right?
Yeah, and there's a give and take process, and a lot of times I have to let the program talk until the human is in.
Right.
Or the human is talking to keep the programs out. And then,
oh my God, that's fascinating. Yeah.
That's a journey for me to get the program to do contract revocations, which erases the program on its own. And then the human's in its body and goes, oh, I don't have programs. Now what? Okay. There's many journeys into getting to that healing. I kind of liken it to sitting down and having dinner and say, I'll buy the appetizer. Okay.
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 Oh, I see. Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's what it's like. It's teamwork, right?
It. Yeah, it's teamwork.
Yeah. And that's why I hear you encouraging people to teach people to learn to heal themselves, which of course undermines that person's financial sort of security in one way, but the real value is exposed in the healed people, right? That's where the real money is, so to speak.
The journey to self-mastery has many paths to self-mastery that require one to look at 3D matrix, monetary, abundance, spiritual, and non-spiritual. And a lot of people are on the path to self-mastery, but shoot themselves in the foot by not mastering abundance, seen and unseen.
Uh-huh. Yeah. That's a huge problem for a lot of people, for sure.
Right. They live in what I call lack consciousness.
Yeah.
Always
I'm
in lack.
quite familiar with it. Yeah.
And it defines them so much. It is their pure limitation from ever being a part of the awakening.
Yeah, that's profound. Now, the reason I wanted to get on here, and I'm so excited I did, I recently had a quantum healing hypnosis sort of session.
Okay.
And it was suggested to me that I would feel very good after the fact. And the reality was that I felt like I had been hit by a train, and it took like a day to get over it. It was really painful. So it caused a lot of growth, and I found a lot of value in it, but I just wondered if you had any sense of any perspective on that you could share.
So what was the nature of the hypnosis session? Did they take you to a place and space and clear stuff?
It was almost like they invited me to take a tour of my consciousness, point out a few important details, days, situations, and then she brought me into a state of relaxation and then queried my subconscious about each of those situations. And then we got into a series of questions we had prepared beforehand. And at that point, my subconscious was supposed to be answering the questions, but of course my consciousness was ever present, as it always is, and interfering with whatever was supposed to be happening as far as I was concerned. And then that was it. And it took hours. 4 hours.
Okay, well, if it took that many hours, the reason you felt like shit afterwards is because these things that were removed are like what I call repetitive car crashes. You ever been in a car crash and you see yourself going in slow motion and bam, you have many of those stuck in your frequency. And as they began clearing the energy, and then you come out of the state, suddenly all that's not in you, and you felt like crap because you had been in that crap state for so long. And then that void energy had to be refilled with something else, which gave you that draining journey.
Okay. The void energy had to be filled with something else.
The void meaning all of that energy of those car crashes was taken out, and you needed to fill it with your own energy.
Right.
Thus why you felt drained, because they occupied so much of you.
Jesus.
And the reason your mind was so active in there, it had been using many of those traumas as a cornerstone of advancing.
Advancing where? Just
it doesn't matter where.
Business. Yeah. So now these things that you say have been taken out of me, are they conscious in and of themselves?
No.
They're just programs.
Let's define a program as something that has technically zeros and ones, but we give it 0 and 1.1, 0.1. We give it a little bit of our personality, but it doesn't make it conscious and aware. It doesn't dream, but it might affect your dreaming world. And at times, programs get access to our vagus nerve, which gives them the access to the unlimited skills. And that is the I am giving authority to the program so that the body can run an autopilot as they're often ever land, light, love and lighting bullshit, whatever it is they're doing to not be in the body.
Oh my God. Yeah, I'm just catching up on your material. It's very refreshingly, it's kind of like really more direct than a lot of other material that I come across. And your purpose is like woven into nearly every sentence you speak, which I so appreciate. Like you're just waiting, always waiting for an opportunity to say the best thing, which is it's just amazing. It's just amazing to see. I just thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Thank you. It's just like, yeah, it's great. Open call too, right? Like that's very generous.
I do these open calls all the time. I'm by like 700 or 800 open calls. I don't know. I lost count.
Well, with the energy that you put out, it's really an immense service.
Yeah,
really.
That's why I do it.
Thank you.
You know, wonderful. I get a lot of people go, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? Because that's not my purpose.
Sure.
I know what my purpose is.
Yeah, clearly. That's wonderful.
I do a comedy show with Monty Dean because it's fun. Nice. I do these other interview shows, like doing an interview with Laura Eisenhower the other day. That was fun.
That's where I found you. Yeah.
I stopped doing a lot of interviews with the conspiracy community because they were boring interviews. And people stuck in their stupid ass programs.
Absolutely. It's interesting. Like even when the spiritual community and say like, I don't know, truthers, I don't know, they come together, even then they still tend to get a little bit stuck. Maybe.
Stuck? Stuck is an understatement.
Okay. I thought I was being harsh. Don't mean to be harsh at all. It's just like, yeah, it just feels like there's something in us that wants to like move forward in positive action now, right? I feel.
Yes, we're all trying to get to that positive action, but everybody has a different definition of what positive action can be for them.
Right. Like, well, exactly. I've struggled for, I don't know how long I've been around, but a long time, feeling like that I shouldn't do anything that I want to do because it's too hard. It's impossible. Like it's just straight up not believing in myself. Thus, so many beautiful opportunities never get fulfilled, right?
And that self-defeating habit pattern has evolved into an autopilot program of you giving your authority away.
Oh my God, like so hard. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it's been interesting because I've just come into awareness of it in the last couple of years and I've been absolutely appalled at myself. And I'm just like, it's hard not to go through a period where you're just like, oh God, that's embarrassing. But what can you do? Just keep going, right?
What do you do for a job?
I'm just about to start up a little shop that will offer like chakra light sessions for like dirt cheap, just so people can come in and like be with themselves. And
Don't sell yourself dirt cheap short. You'll never
okay,
survive. You'll never survive as a business. And that is you shooting yourself in the foot, not
Well,
believing in it.
not necessarily, because I don't live in a rich place. I'm not exactly out for the money. You're on a free call.
Psychic advisor.
Okay, sure. Yeah. Okay. All right. I'll take it into account.
Don't sell yourself short.
Okay.
Period.
But what do you think of that idea? It's like, it's pretty woo woo, but I think it's like as effective as anything else in terms of sort of like
light therapy works for a lot of people, but
There you
there are some dense ass mofos it does nothing to.
Now, is there any danger in doing that? I'm not going to hurt anyone by offering that, right?
But you got to give more than one monotone service.
Yeah, no, I definitely want, absolutely. Like my heart's bursting with joy at the thought of like all the different things I can do from that space. Like I'm so excited to get moving. Absolutely. I hear you. Go on. Please tell me more.
Are you familiar with vibration plates that you stand on and they go high frequency vibration?
No.
So it's like an exercise thing at the same time. Actually, they were invented like 30 years ago for NASA when people would go up into the space station and they had to figure out how to exercise.
Yeah.
They're vibrating, oscillating plates, and they're anywhere between $200 and $4,000. You can get some smaller ones, and what they do is trigger the lymph nodes to open up.
Oh, that's nice.
So you can put a person on the vibrating plate for 15 to 20 minutes and then sit them in front of the light, and the light will be 50% more effective on them.
Interesting. Thank you.
Okay.
Wonderful.
As well as an infrared sauna. Have you ever been in an infrared sauna?
No, I was wondering about them though.
They're wonderful. They're powerful detox machines, and you can get an actual one that's a 2-person or 3-person for anywhere from $1,200 to $3,000 on Amazon. It all depends on how much high quality you want to go.
Uh-huh.
And you can easily sell that at $40 to $60 an hour and combine that with light therapy.
I love it. Thank you. Wow, okay. That's wonderful. Yeah, perfect for the space I'm about to go into as well. Yeah. That's great.
Now, the only thing with the sauna is they're going to sweat a lot, so you need a shower for them.
We have one. That's wonderful.
Okay.
Look at that.
There's many other techniques and machines that you can go and add to your business that gives you a much higher chance of earning repetition clients.
That's great. I appreciate that.
Who will just pay for monthly, and you allow that monthly. They can share it with their husbands or daughters, or they can share a family package that allows people to share.
This is beautiful. I love that like everyone's hearing this and they can just steal that idea and go.
That's right.
Like that's wonderful.
Have you ever done the Ionics foot bath detox?
Nope.
That changes the color of the water?
Yeah.
So you don't even know what that is. So
I've heard of it.
They add ions to the water, and the water has a little bit of salt in it, and it pulls out toxins out of the sweat pores in your feet, and it'll literally sometimes turn the water black, purple, green with the slime that appears on the top. Very potent, and a lot of big spas offer that type of stuff, and that's a $30 to $50 session right away that you can combine to something else.
Love it. Wow, thank you so much.
Okay.
That's incredible.
Go on Amazon and just look at all the little healing machines there. There's another one called the Huso, Huso sound healing machine. And basically it has 4 bands, 2 to trap to your wrists and 2 to trap to your ankles, and then a little headset that goes on. And it puts sound frequencies into your meridians and puts you in a super deep, relaxing state.
Wow.
Okay?
Yeah.
So you can put that while they're on the light, which means the light's going to be more effective.
That's awesome.
Okay?
You're brilliant, man. Thank you.
It's my purpose is to help people be invigorated and motivated with their journey to healing, whether they're the business side, they're the healer side. Okay?
Yeah.
Wellness center. We need wellness centers everywhere.
Yes, exactly. Absolutely. Get busy, all. Thank you so much. I think that's it. Oh, sometimes I notice you like being like, you've been here before. You have this kind of DNA. Can you like read me and tell me anything? Montreal 77?
I'm trying to think what applies to you now. I think the first part of your journey is the early part of your life with resolving karma. So there's a lifetime where you're in southern Florida in the 1920s, 1930s, and you're a retired gangster, Italian mafia gangster during Prohibition. And when you were retired, you're actually like a hitman kind of thing. So you had lots of kills under your belt. But when you retired, you didn't go into making money in Prohibition. You just kind of stayed retired and watched all these other people make money in the criminal field and then die out. And you ended up having to go to World War II because you were retired at a really young age, like 20s. It already killed a whole bunch of people. But then World War II came around.
Wait, are you making this up, or are you reading part of my past?
I'm reading it right now.
Wow, I'm amazing.
That's what I do, is show after show after show. So the journey to understanding you was you had to end a criminal life. Now, in spirituality, criminality is not a bad thing. There are a lot of criminals who resolve tremendous amounts of karma by doing it that way, because in the past, life was worthless. You had to seize life by the hands, life by the horns, to go out and make something. That's why this Robin Hood story connects to so many people. But your particular journey of letting the criminality life going and then having to join the army and die in World War II, it ended that criminal life and warrior life for you, even though it had repeated for the last 300 years for you before that. So when you were reborn this lifetime, you were meant to seize life by the horns, but it meant you had to take a lot of effort to not fall down the criminal pathway. Which was a challenge. It was a challenge to you growing up, right?
I would depends on how you define criminal, but definitely a bit of a slacker, I guess, in some ways. I like to party. So.
And in partying, there are drugs, and there are ways to make money with that are always tempting you.
You know what? I feel like I resolved it, but I definitely know I've done some bad things in other lives.
The point is, you did resolve it.
Yeah. So now I just go, and that's how I feel right now. That's just how I feel. It's just time to go.
For you, it is more than go.
What does that mean?
It's embodying all the parts of go, and then the parts of you that don't understand the word go. The ones that will have the rope on your back and you're going to run 50 yards and then suddenly the rope is going to be pulled taut and you can go no further.
Right.
And you have to cut ties with those parts of yourself that will go no further. Yeah. That's the 15-year-old girl, the 21-year-old girl that never really dreamed big.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yep. Cool. All right. Well, thanks.
They can't be a part of your growing part. They need to become memories and not former personalities that still have an operation in the current you.
Absolutely. That's cool. Now, where would one start if you were, like, I'm new to your material, so where would you suggest I start with, like, some exercises, etc., whatever?
The contract revocations in the front of my webpage.
Okay. Yeah.
See those as a part of a daily practice.
Okay.
And then some form of ritual and ceremony that protects the four corners of your bed and the four corners of your room.
Okay.
Once a week. And if you want to go for extra credit, 2 or 3 times a week.
Okay.
And then the bathroom that you use every morning, once a week or twice a month, something to that effect, you've got to start putting a protective ritual and ceremony there too. Okay. Those are the first inputs into using contract revocations, protecting your space, so that the greater you can evolve once a lot of these contracts, vows, and agreements acknowledged begin to be breaking down. Now, contract revocation is you don't just do it once and you're done. You've got to continuously do them. Repetition creates illumination, and illumination creates more repetition that has more illumination behind it. There's going to come a point where those words won't give you the same form of illumination. Therefore, you must add to your own. Yeah. And the next journey is recording your contract revocations in an out loud voice, and then being in a meditative state and turning on your awareness and go, what am I doing in that moment? Am I broadcasting the intentions and the meanings of these words, and can I receive them?
Mm-hmm.
becoming self-observant of your spiritual states, so that when you begin to start regular ritual and ceremony, you know when you're truly high frequency and when you're faking it.
Mm-hmm. And the ritual and the repetition is a way of building the muscle, so to speak, of staying within that spiritual awareness, for
Right.
lack of a better term. Yeah.
Correct. And then some of the revocation, there's one revocation that's like 9 or 12 pages, but it's meant as an endurance challenge. Can you maintain it?
Yeah, cool.
Okay. And not just keep putting it down and putting it down, because if you notice yourself keep putting it down, you can't maintain the 30K run.
Why are people like this? Like, why are we like this? Why can't we just like be with ourselves? It's bizarre to me. This is how I grew up. I grew up in a very unconscious world, right? I think you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm, I do. And I have an answer for that. Bad education as children.
Yes, okay.
Our educators.
Yeah, indeed. What was I going to say? So a quick question regarding the revocations and the rituals and the protections. When you say protections, what are we protecting ourselves from exactly?
Mostly yourself.
Mostly.
Okay. 95% of all entities are self-created.
Okay. Okay. I can get
So
behind that. And then
the 5% that aren't are there to manipulate your self-created entity.
so no one around helping, just me.
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
Really?
So when you're protecting yourself from yourself, that means you become observant of your transient states that pop in and out of you. Yeah. Okay. And saying no to that transient state. You can't change me and suddenly make something relevant that's going to throw me off my journey.
Yes, yes, absolutely. I will continue to listen and explore your material. I thank you so much, and I will open up the floor.
Okay. Thanks a lot for calling in. It's nice
Absolutely.
to have another person come in.
Absolutely.
All right, Robert, let's spin up the wheel of callers and see who is next.
All righty. Arwen, you're unmuted with Andrew.
Arwen.
Hey,
Hello, where are you calling from today?
I'm calling from Ireland in Donegal.
Ireland, welcome to the show. What do you want to talk about today?
I don't know what to talk about. I mean, I wasn't expecting I was actually going to get up, and I was just painting away, practicing my watercolor. I suppose I could talk about some of the things that you and Martina were talking about.
Okay.
Like the whole thing to do with families and sort of like the energy harvesting that goes on within families to do with sort of arguments and things like that, because we've got a situation in our house at the moment and it's quite hard to get on top of it, you know.
Uh-huh.
So I was thinking perhaps a little bit of understanding in that respect might actually help.
Well, tell me about what's going on inside the house that you can't get a handle on.
Well, my daughter came back from America. She's 24, and our house flooded in 2017, and we've moved into a smaller house.
Mm-hmm.
And my son he would be an ADHD child, and so he seems to just not be able to control his anger. You know, he gets very, very angry and explosively angry with verbal aggression. And so there's a lot of arguments in the house. And it's like, it's just getting to the stage where sometimes when I'm doing spiritual work, I feel as if there's some type of attack coming through him to get at me.
Uh-huh. How old is he?
He's just turned 30.
And why is he still living at home?
Well, he was building a boat down in Limerick, a big wooden clipper, and then that work sort of like fell through, and then he came back home. And where we are living in Ireland, it's a small town, there's not a lot of accommodation. So he moved in with the intent to find a place. But it'd been very hard to find a place. You know, you can either get a family home, but for somebody to have a place on their own, there's not that many around the town, you know. So it's just sort of went from a few months extended now to almost a year, you know.
Can he apply for government assistance to get a government house and that be paid for?
No, because he would be way down, very, very low on the list, you know.
But can he get on the list?
Aye, he can get on the list, but he'd probably be waiting 10 years, you know, that's kind of way. I would just like to find out a way how we can manage ourselves in harmony in the house. Because sometimes it's a bit like walking on eggshells, you know, you don't know, you want to come in and you're in a happy mood or you're in a high vibe and you're like loving life and then you walk in the door and it's like boom, you know. I have my room, which is fine, sitting in my room doing things, but you know, it's like when arguments become very explosive, there's that kind of energetic toxicity.
Can I be blunt?
Yeah, please.
He's got to go.
Yeah.
He's not going to do any inner work at all. And he's going to put a lot of middle fingers up if you ask him to do inner work.
He refuses, you know, definitely, because we've tried to get
Then
him to look at
he's
himself.
got to go.
Aye.
This is a tough love scenario. Tough love. You can't live with his chaos. Period.
Yeah.
He's an adult.
Aye.
Okay?
It's just finding a way how we can get him
Give
to
him
go.
his deadline. He can move into a big city, find a cheap-ass place. He's an adult.
Yeah.
And you can't give him ultimatums if you change in 30 days because he won't change.
He's definitely not going to change because there was if he changes for a few months and then he reverts back to that.
But he never changed in the first place. That's the lie about him.
Yeah. I believe that to be true, you know, definitely. So thanks for that. I think I did say to my daughter, if I got a chance, I would ask you about it. Mm-hmm. But I think we both know that we have to find a way to get him to go because it's just been a little bit too much.
And it's going to get worse.
Yes, I'm feeling that things is coming to a head, that it will get progressively worse because there can be no solutions.
Because he won't allow solutions.
That's right. See, it's hard for me. It's hard for me because I work in mental health, and I see people like him all the time, you know. So, you know, if anyone could help him to reach out to help himself, it could be me. But he's got me in a box where it's just not possible for me to help him.
But he also has that about anyone that's in any medical field, good or bad. No one can help him. He doesn't think there's nothing wrong with him. Do you see that about him?
Yeah, I find him to be very arrogant.
That's why I'm saying he's got to go.
Aye.
He's got to learn the tough love lessons on his own. And his own ego has to be broken down by his own failures, where his mom's not sitting there going, I told you so, let me help you up. Can't help him up anymore.
Well, I don't actually hardly talk to him anymore.
If he was 22, this would be a different scenario, but he's 30.
Aye.
Okay? Even if he was 26, this would be a different story. He's 30 now.
Yeah. Okay. Well.
Okay. Something else is you've got to think of the rest of the family.
Well, this is it because my daughter's coming. She's going to be moving from Dublin soon, and she has had her own mental health problems in the past, and she's in a really good space at the moment. And I just want things to be normal, want a normal atmosphere for her while she's making the transition from one job to another. So I'm just trying to think, how do we get shot of him? Nicely.
But you can't trade from one mental health patient that's in denial to another one. What about you?
What about me?
Yeah. Do you count in this scenario?
I do count.
Then don't be the martyr.
it's like I feel as if I need more space of my own, but more even outside this house. I'm actually looking to get a mobile home out in the countryside somewhere, so I'm saving up towards that. So I have a vision for myself as well, like with some goals, just to be more in nature, because we're in a small place. It's a small town. It's kind of busy, even though it's small.
Why are you stuck in a small town?
I think because it's really beautiful. I love where I'm living. It sort of resonates with my
But
heart.
you can't grow anymore there.
You think so?
I know so.
I was living in Amsterdam for a long time, and I felt I had to get out of Amsterdam. I came out of there to bring my children up.
That's Amsterdam. There's plenty of other medium to larger sized towns all over Ireland you can go and have a blast at.
I don't see myself really as being a townie. Do you know what I mean? There is a place down in Kerry I was looking at in Dingles. It's quite a nice place. I've been thinking of moving down there at some point. That's why I'm looking towards getting a mobile home to set it up there. I have friends there, and it's quite a nice scene. The nice music scene and the nice art scene and nice scenery.
I get that part. You can still do that. But
Yeah.
I'm saying the little tiny town you're in is not benefiting you anymore. Find a little bit bigger of town somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you're still waiting for your house that got flooded to be fixed. When's that going to happen?
Probably in about a decade. A bazillion years away from now.
So you're going to wait a decade in a little tiny house in a little tiny town that's never going to advance?
Nah, I don't think I'll be hanging around here for too long, not anymore in a couple of years anyway. Okay. Because I'm feeling the shift, but not really to another big town. It would have to be a place where the scenic beauty is, because I enjoy being around the nature and I enjoy my place in nature.
As long as you're an hour from a decent town and you got a vehicle, you're good.
Aye, well, we are an hour from a decent town. We have a really good city, just like 25 minutes down the road, with all the city amenities and things.
But what I'm saying is the little town you're in isn't benefiting you anymore.
No.
Karmically and ancestrally karmically.
Well, we kind of didn't mean to be here. Our house flooded in 2017, and from there we were forced to come up here. Do you remember the solstice? It was an eclipse across America.
It's time for you to move. It's time for you to move.
Aye. I suppose so. Up sticks, Andrew.
All right, darling, I got to let you go and move on to the next caller. Thanks so much for calling in.
Okay, take care. Bye.
You're welcome. All right, Robert, let's spin up the wheel of callers and see who is next.
I'm not even going to try to pronounce this one. DLRSAT, someone's computer name. You're unmuted with Andrew.
DLR35ATVGORVR80Z9QAA.
Are you there?
Yes, I believe it's my galactical name. I have no idea how I got that.
What's your name?
Nadia.
Nadia, where are you calling from?
Chicago, Illinois.
Chicago, Illinois. Welcome to the show. What do you want to talk about today?
Well, first of all, I want to go back to what you started to talk about in the beginning, and I believe my mom had a remote control chancleta.
Chancleta throwing, yes.
Yes, I mean, I believe us running up the stairs, turning the corner in our bedroom, it knocking on the door, and when we opened it, it hit us.
Yep. That's funny. Yes, yeah. My mom had the capacity to throw a shoe around a corner.
Yeah, right. And I really feel bad for the kids now because they don't have these memories that we have. They have timeouts.
Yeah, I mean, I had timeouts too, and because my brothers were 4 years older and 8 years older than me, so they broke my parents hard before I
I
was
was the
born.
I was the firstborn, so yes, I was trial and error.
So my mom's aim got worse and worse, and there was a number of scenarios where me and my middle brother were just screwing around, being dumb, and the shoe came flying, and we saw it, and we both ducked, and the shoe hit one of her vases and shattered this vase.
Oh my
At that
goodness.
point, we didn't know what to do. Like, oh my god, but we didn't break it. You broke it.
Oh my God. We had 6 kids, and my mom's a professional slipper thrower, and we should do an Olympics on that for moms.
Did
However, I am
did you
so
did you
grateful.
did you see that video I posted about the mom throwing the shoe like 160 feet?
I wanted to post something to you, and I don't know how. I'm not very good at technology. You got to look under, and I got to type it up. Shahata 2.0. It's an improved version of that, and you're gonna really laugh on that one. It's
Okay.
SHATA 2.0.
Okay. So it's another mom. It's the same video, or
No, it's actually like it looks like a commercial for slippers for kids on how when you have the slipper in your hand, the kid immediately becomes intelligent.
oh, I've seen a bunch of stuff like that too. There's a bunch of survival guides to the Mexican life, survival guides to moms with chanclos.
But this is a Middle Eastern version, so it's
The
kind of
Middle
funny.
Eastern version. See, that's
Yeah.
why I put the post on my Facebook page. If you grew up in a shoe throwing culture, you'll understand this video. If not, get a YouTube PhD. This mother throws this shoe like literally 160 feet and whacks this little 13-year girl running
Oh yeah,
away right in the head.
it's amazing. But going back, I'm very uh, humbled to be a caller for you. This is my first time calling you, and I've been listening to you probably about 3 months, and I am what you call the very green poser because I've been
Ah,
listening.
so
Yeah.
how did you come across my material?
I do meditation with a group, and I bumped into one girl, and we've been exchanging YouTube things, and she introduced me to you, and since then I've been a very um, dedicated follower to you, but not really having time to do the work. But I have this week, I believe I've done three three revocations with a very nice fire.
Wonderful. So what do you want to talk about then?
You know, I'm in my confused stage right now where I want to know what my purpose is. However, I do have a son who is 18, and I think he has Asperger's. I'm sure he has Asperger's. I always say he's 90% Asp, but um, I feel he's also an indigo. And I know he's here to make something big in the world, and I know you said it was like the Jesus Christ raising, but I feel that there is something there, and he's here to tear up the world, and he's into film and directing. That's what he's directing. But I just wanted to know, how's it look
So,
for him?
so let's talk about you first.
Okay.
Why do you feel like you're in this lost state, in this confused lost state?
Well, first of all, culturally, I know you always say with Middle Eastern women, it's harder
Mhm.
because you have a way of living, and I am half Middle Eastern, half Brazilian.
Okay.
So grown up in America, born and raised in America, and I have a lot more freedom. However, I know going if I go back to my husband who is overseas right now, which that's what we planned, he's going to think I'm crazy or I can't do half of this stuff. And I feel that my heart is there, and I feel
You
like
got
I
for,
have intuition. I feel like I'm an old soul. I
so
feel
why
all of
does
this
your
stuff.
husband have to approve of everything you do?
It's I don't know. I don't think he needs to.
Cultural programming.
Exactly.
What does
Exactly.
it care if he thinks you're crazy?
Hmm.
Shouldn't matter at all to you.
Yeah.
That's once again how the culture is going to limit you thinking on your own, creating on your own, and being able to go out there and make mistakes and successes.
And it's cultural programming and also belief programming that I've tried
Or
to break through a
self-worth
lot.
and self-worth.
And self-worth, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've fought so many times growing up because you're a girl, and I proved them wrong,
Mm-hmm.
and I got to where I am, and I'm happy about it.
Okay. So what do you do as a career?
I love medicine, and I was going to be a doctor, but I didn't get into med school at that moment. But right now, I'm just a delivery service. I just shop for people, which is my happiness of delivering foods to them if they can't go outside.
Okay. Have you had any other careers?
We've had small mom and pop businesses where I've tried to manage it.
Like what?
Oh, mom and pop grocery stores, liquor store, bigger grocery stores that didn't work out.
So a classic Mediterranean.
Yes, because we don't
Okay.
like working for anybody. Yes.
Hmm. I think you have to really extricate yourself from your culture,
Hmm.
and you have to begin really breaking some contracts, vows, and agreements on the limitations the culture has imprinted to you. Acknowledge the imprintation and begin to detoxify from those imprintations,
Is that a
because
special type of
it's effect
revocation?
it's just something you have to create, because you know the culture and the degradation that it creates. You
Uh-huh.
have also accepted less than your own self-worth for a long time.
Mhm.
Do you even realize this?
You know what? Sometimes I have these creative entrepreneur ideas, and then I just push it off to the side.
That's not acknowledging your self-worth.
Okay.
Okay. And
How do I go about? I am doing meditation.
you got to do ritual and ceremony that engages it direct up front. The part of you that accepts you are not worthy.
Okay. So, like when I light a fire, I would like to ask it. You said give it your story. Like I don't understand what that means. Like when I growing up, blah blah blah.
No, it's confronting in the moment, literally her in the moment, that accepting less than that self-worth.
Okay.
And you've got to be able to create a ceremony in which you're going to bring that thing that's making you less than self-worth and bring her up front and say no more. Learning to summon these negative programs within you
Uh huh.
out of willpower.
Okay. Because I feel like I've accomplished so much that I thought my self worth would be stronger, but probably not yet.
You're missing the point though.
Mhm.
Your total value of self-worth you think you have
Mhm.
is here, but in actuality it's much lower.
Oh, okay.
You have lowered your standards and bars about yourself so much, the ego keeps you propped up into thinking you're more worthy and more value, but in actuality you devalue yourself on many layers.
Wow. Okay. So, what would I have to do?
Like I just said, confront it in ceremony. Bring up
Okay.
all those parts of you that devalue yourself. And your ceremonies is directly confronting the parts of you that devalue you. And you've really got to use your I am aware self to going, there are many parts of me that devalue me. And what you'll
Okay.
begin to learn is many of those parts are the male energies from the people that have been around you since the youngest of age to today, that have empowered parts of your programs to not be a woman.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'll write something up and I'll talk it to the fire.
Keep on trucking.
Great. Anything you see about me that I don't know, interesting of the past or of my I am or my I, higher self?
So why didn't you become a doctor?
Hmm. Frustration. I applied to med school and I was the first on the waiting list, and no one dropped out that year, which is very unlikely. So I just said it was
What school did you apply to?
Rush Medical School.
Okay, why did you apply to a dozen different medical schools like everyone else in the world?
I did a couple of them. However, doubt, maybe fear. I know I have it. I love medicine. I love working with children, and I'm thinking of going into what's the word I'm looking for? Occupational therapy for children.
How old are you now?
53. And also, I like to work with autistic kids.
Okay. Part of your devaluing of yourself,
Hmm.
you try to revaluate yourself with all these new projects and skills and things that you want to learn, but they're really not you.
Okay.
And you're going to have to do, after you've really confronted the devaluing parts of yourself,
Hmm.
what it is that you really want to do. You want to work with kids because you want to help your son. Okay? That's not what you.
I've always liked
No,
children.
listen to me. That's
Okay.
bullshit. You want to help
Okay.
your son. That's why you want to work with kids.
Uh-huh.
That's not really what you want to do.
Well, way before my son, I was interested in pediatrics.
But you didn't do it. Interested isn't following through.
I've worked for a pediatrician, and another reason why I chose not to continue it is insurance controlled so much of your practice.
But you were never a doctor to know any of that.
I
Doesn't
did. I
matter.
have.
Listen,
Okay.
listen to what I'm saying. You
Uh-huh.
devalued yourself even before you got into it, therefore it's self-defeating. You could
Okay.
have made your own practice that wasn't covered by the insurance, like all the other doctors out there that don't want to be controlled by the insurance, and there's thousands of them out there.
Okay.
You just worked for one that was, and therefore you took that as the imprint, and therefore you never followed through with that dream.
Okay.
That's how strong your devaluing process is in you.
Hmm.
So I'm going to ask you again, what do you truly want to do solely for yourself? And I'm going to call bullshit on the answers that I know are bullshit.
You know what? I'm going to tell you the honest truth. I have put my mind in so much blankness that I don't even know what I want in life.
How long has it been like that for?
Wow, since we've lost everything, probably 2013. I feel like Dory from Nemo, just keep moving, just keep swimming, and that's all I've put in my life
Okay.
until I've woken up. I felt like I woken up December of last year. I bumped into somebody and told me just keep learning, and that's how I found you. That's how I found so many other things that have been interesting, and um,
So
that's as far as.
you didn't have to say anything. You didn't say anything I had to call bullshit, and you identified right away with your habit patterns. But
Uh-huh.
you still don't know what you want to do.
I have so many ideas. I always wanted to do a food truck, but never
Bullshit,
followed through.
garbage, bullshit, garbage, bullshit, garbage.
Wow,
You don't
that's
want to
funny.
be in the restaurant business at 56. Come on.
No. Well, that's why I didn't do it. I just felt that I couldn't keep up with it.
Okay.
I have no clue.
I have a clue,
Hmm.
but you're going to have to truly challenge yourself. And I mean,
Okay.
challenge yourself at the highest layers to all your self defeating habit patterns.
Hmm.
You need to go back to school for a 4-year degree.
Another 4-year degree?
Yes. One
Okay.
that's solely for you.
But what? As in what? As in undecided, or as in
What is your
sociology,
what is your current what
psychology?
is your current 4-year degree?
Pre-med.
Okay, finish it.
Go back to med school. Go to med
Go
school.
back to school in general.
Okay.
You need to challenge yourself and become the next level of educated.
Okay.
Okay.
That's
And you
what my
got to
son
get
has
out
been
of
telling me.
you got to get out of mediocrity.
Yeah, I think I settled to mediocrity. I think I have.
Mhm. Stop accepting mediocrity as the pinnacle of your life force.
I think it's safe being mediocrity and mediocrity.
It's not going to get you anywhere, is it? All you're going to do is end up with a mediocre life, not fulfilled.
Yeah. No. Okay.
Okay.
How about my son?
How old is he?
18.
His name and date of birth?
Full name Ibrahim Zayed, 121, 2002.
You have imprinted a lot onto this child.
Yeah.
You've been a classic Middle Eastern mother, over imprint. And he's going through a series of rejection phrases of all the imprints that are being put on him. Was he like one of those children that was forced to get straight A's?
He never did it. He is so rebellious in anything he did.
But was there always this overtone and arch of getting straight A's from the culture?
No, I would like it, but that's because every parent wants their children to be better than them. But,
Yes, but
I never reprimanded him.
But Middle Eastern culture has a lot of those straight A rules.
Yeah, no, I don't think so, because his father wasn't that good in it, so he kind of knew. He kind of expected not to get straight A's.
So what does he want to do?
He's always been in love with film, to be a director. Growing up with his autism, his hobbies were movies. That was it. And also business. I think he wants to do an entrepreneurship.
Does he have a lot of friends?
He's starting to. It was very awkward growing up in school.
The only advice I can have for you right now is he has to find some type of physical process to get him in his body more often.
I've been pushing that. That's what I've been pushing.
Well, you can't push anymore. He's rejecting being pushed.
Yeah.
And you're in a mom's hardest part about a kid's growing up part of their life. And you can suggest, you can pay for, and pay for is about the only thing you can do. And if he doesn't go, it's wasted money.
Yeah. When he was younger, he was in taekwondo, piano, just tried a little sports. It was always awkward.
Now, because COVID-19 is going to make a lot of sports scenarios very tough to get into, let me process this a second. So pranayama yoga.
Okay.
Just talk to him about doing it and say, I'll pay for the classes, but you got to go.
Yeah. I've done that. I've also tried telling him just meditate, just focus, and you know.
He doesn't listen to you.
I know.
That's why I'm said you're stuck. You can pay for it, but he's not going to listen. He's at the stage where you're whoa, 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 like the Charlie Brown guy. He doesn't hear your words. Okay.
All right.
And to be brutally honest here,
yes,
you got to let him go so you can grow with your own life.
Yes, I know. That's what my goal was to do.
Then do it.
Yeah,
let him make his mistakes and successes.
Yeah.
And when he's ready to hear you, he'll hear you.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Thanks a lot for calling in. I've got to move on to my last caller for the day.
Thanks so much, Andrew.
You're
That was-
welcome. All right, Robert. Let's spin up the wheel of callers and see who is next.
All righty. Duhita McNally, you're next.
Duhita, are you there?
Hi, yeah, this is
Hi.
very weird.
Where are you where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Hampshire.
Welcome to the show. What do you want to talk about today?
A million things is going on in my head right now because I was just at the end of work. So yeah. Well, can we just ask just questions about ourselves and that sort of thing?
Sure.
Yeah. Well, I've had this question that I wanted to ask you for a long time. And it was to do with the time around when I was born.
Okay.
And a lot of things happened around that time. And yeah, it's just.
So is there an actual question in that statement? Or do you just want me to read the energies about when you were born?
Maybe just read the energies. That would be really good because yeah, a lot of things happened during that time that were not very good. So
well,
yeah.
what year what is your full name and date of birth?
Oh, my full name is just what you just read. And my date of birth is 17/7/1991.
And where were you born at?
In Kolkata, Calcutta, India.
Are you sure you're ready to know this?
I don't know, because it's.
Are you
maybe,
close?
Yeah.
Are you close to your parents?
My mom, yeah. Quite close, yeah. Not my dad.
And have you ever inquired to them about that time?
I know how I was conceived.
Okay. How was that?
I don't want to say it.
You were raped?
Yeah.
And they were almost murdered you as a child because it's the culture in India to murder rape children. And somebody was holding you just after birth and was going to smash you into a floor.
I don't know that one.
You may not, like I said, you may not be ready for some of this stuff.
Well, okay. I did not expect that.
Mm-hmm.
I know that
And your mother may not be ready to tell you the truth either. You're alive now. That's all that matters.
Okay, good.
Okay? That's all that matters. And there is love for you.
Yeah. I know that. Yeah.
Enough love to keep somebody from strangling and smashing a newborn. So you could grow up and be you.
What's that to do with my dad at all? Or
doesn't matter.
Okay, I should stop asking questions about my past. Yeah.
It's not about the past. It's about who you are right now. The woman you've grown into.
Thanks, Andrew.
There is no darkness around you from your birth. You made it here. Your light survived. That's all that matters.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for that. I guess
when you're ready to have children, you'll know the love of a mother to a newborn.
Because I know that my mom loves me like to bits. And yeah, I guess just leave it at that.
Can you love her back?
Yeah. She's pulled me through a lot, so got me to where I am. Yeah. So yeah. So happy for that. I was not expecting to get through to you at all. So yeah, I'm
you did.
still.
How long you been listening for?
Since 2015, when I met my husband. So he, at that time, we weren't even going out, and he introduced me to you. So yeah, since then actually, been a while.
So is there anything else you wanted to ask me?
I guess I was also having, a couple of things, if I can ask. One is about, I used to have a lot of nightmares as a kid. And I used to be so confused growing up whether those were to do with things that were there or things I was imagining.
For a child, there's no difference between imagination and actually there.
Yeah.
A child can make imagination real in a blink of an eye, and imagination can make something that's real go away very fast. And something that's real can affect a child's imagination for many evolutions to come. So these nightmares, what were the general theme of it?
I used to have recurring nightmares that was just getting trapped, and maybe it has to do with just the place that I was at and just feeling trapped, and parents turning into demons and things like that. So yeah.
Also, the place that you were living in had lots of ghosts in it too.
Yeah. Now I can look back to that now and see that. I can see that now. Yeah. So,
when did the nightmares stop?
Somewhere I think when I was like 10 or something, as far as I remember. I just suddenly remember one of the days remembering that I'm not seeing nightmares anymore. I'm not scared to go to sleep.
One day they were just gone.
Yeah.
That means the ancestral karma of those things were resolved, and your guides and guardians ended the nightmares.
Wow. That's amazing. That's quite cool. Another question that I was having was about the coronavirus, actually, because...
Go ahead.
Well, I'm in the UK, and they've started lifting a few of the lockdown measures and that sort of thing. But internally, I feel like there's more to come.
There is. If you've been listening, you've been hearing me say that they're going to dangle and everything's going to look like, and then they're going to pull you right back into lockdown. And this is going to go on well into October and November. When they're already starting to giving us a little bit of room to come out, and coronavirus is going to come back, and you're going to see a lot of battling of people who believe in it and don't believe in it, and then people are going to start to die, and then they're going to throw more fear at you.
Yeah. And with the Black Lives Matter protests going on, that's a
way to counter the belief in the sickness. In all reality, they don't know anything about this virus. They have no idea how to cure it. They have no idea how it's transmitted. That's why so many people think it's a hoax.
I know people are saying, "Oh, we don't believe in masks and that sort of thing," which is so...
That's their own dumb fault.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, this is quite cool just chatting to you, actually.
What do you do? What do you do for a career?
I'm a landscape architect. So I'm just starting up working in London.
Kind of tough to be a landscape architect in COVID, isn't it?
I'm still like, it's mostly desk work, so it's fine. It's like I'm designing on the desk, and it's just my boss goes out to site, so it's fine. For now, I have work, so I'm good. So I don't know. I'm so blanked out at what to ask you, because whenever I go on these shows, I'm like, oh, if I ever get on, I'm gonna ask this and ask that. I should have written things down. Another thing was to do with my art.
Okay.
And this is gonna sound very weird. Is there anything to do with Van Gogh?
Your art related to Van Gogh?
Or just me in general?
What makes you think that?
resonance?
So
Or
did you
I
study?
know?
Did you study art in school and connected to him through the artist teachings?
No, I never went to school in art, but my mom had a book for Van Gogh when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
That was it.
So here's a rule: the most advanced artists, musicians, and etc. When
Yeah.
they reach a level of international fame that jumps many generations, the I am becomes a a muse,
Mm.
separate of the chain of many I ams that comes after that. It's
Mm.
like an angelic guide into artistic energies. And
Mm.
that muse is there to inspire. And you connected to that muse energy through that book and through many others observings of the different art pieces of Van Gogh.
Okay.
But you're a landscape artist, and what does Van Gogh do?
Well, landscapes, yeah.
Exactly. So he has influenced you to the level that you're at. But it
Yeah.
also might mean it's time for you to pick up some painting.
Well, I am painting actually, so I paint on the side. So
Okay.
I started painting ever since before I can remember. So yeah, so that just is always there. Other than that, well, another thing that I've been having is that I really, really wanted to make friends because I've been struggling with friends for a while. Like I make friends, but then I have this thing where, I just have this thing where even though I connect with people, it disappears.
Does it have anything to do with moving countries?
I did move a lot as a kid. Like my dad used to make us go back to his mom's house a lot. So I never got to hang out with, the friends that I had in school over the weekends. So
the classic Indian family of not allowing you to be with friends and in general is now affecting you today. Cultural limitation.
Mm.
Do you ever listen to Hassan Minhaj, the comedian?
No, I haven't actually, but I should. He's on Netflix.
He's on Netflix.
Yeah.
And his first 2 seasons is talking about how Indian parents limited their children in a comical way. And you will learn a lot about the commonalities of the Indian culture that put a hamper on getting friends. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. And just, Andrew, whatever else you want to tell me, really. I'm not.
How long you been in relationship for?
Well, with this one, it's been like 4 years, I think, or close on 5.
Okay. Are your parents saying that you need to have grandchildren?
My mom's just said, put it off. Focus on other things. Yeah. So.
How long are you going to put it off for?
I don't know.
Do you even want to have children?
I do, but I think I want to get things sorted out a little bit more first.
But technically, if you get it sorted out and then you have children, you're unsorting yourself, right?
Yeah, kind of.
How old are you now?
I'm going to be 30.
Okay. Do you want to be a 38-year-old mother?
No.
How old do you want to be when you have a child?
I guess I should start talking.
Resolving.
Yeah.
Okay. It's much harder to have a child at 38 than it is at 33.
Sure. We'll keep that in mind.
Okay. The next thing is, has intimacy been a challenge for you?
Yes, has been. I think.
Why?
Well, mostly to do with, with men because of my dad.
Mm-hmm. Cultural limitation again. Cultural valuing of the woman and the beautiful frame that you have.
Well, I was going to say when you had I forgot who you just talked to a while back, but I was gonna say with the thing with men and coming from a very sort of the cultural blockages you have, that you do tend to slip into a sort of a way that people would look at you and you stick to it.
Mm-hmm. But you're in a relationship that you should be able to sexually explore yourself.
I've been working on that and trying to follow my guidance. I need to open up a bit more.
You're not really doing it though.
I know.
And I'm not trying to insult you, but too often you're the dead fish on the bed.
I know.
I know that's because you're in fear, and you can't be in fear energy. That's fight, flight, or freeze in the sexual energy. You can't be the dead fish anymore.
I don't know why I have that fear though. It's right. I don't know. I've been trying to work on that.
What was your first sexual experience like when you lost your virginity?
Just confusion and trying to just do it because, it was someone nagging me for a while.
Okay. So it was a devaluing process for you.
Yeah. And it continued, to be honest, for a good 3-4 years, yeah.
And then what happened? You found something that was different?
Yes.
Okay. What was different?
More care, more consideration, and a lot of patience.
Okay. Why does a person have to have a lot of patience with you to get you turned on?
Yeah. I get what you're saying.
Because you really don't want to have sex. You really don't want to have sex. You just want to cuddle. Okay? Then cuddle first, sex after.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
Fulfill the cuddle time, but make a promise to your partner. When the cuddle is done, get it on. Roll the fish over. Okay?
Well, because I didn't want to, I guess that's what was happening, because I was devaluing that. I was like putting that as a bad thing, like the cuddling time. I was making it like, no one wants that, or like I'm wasting time, or things like that. So
because you didn't value the intimacy time itself.
Yeah.
You got to value it. Okay? It can give you great levels of personal and spiritual motivation to be sexually fulfilled.
Yeah. I need to have more time for myself and be more considerate.
So if you have more time with yourself, that's less time in an intimate setting.
Yeah.
Once again, putting you in that lonely state and not fulfilling yourself. Self-defeating habit pattern from the beginning that's denying your sexuality in general. You got to open up to. You've got a partner that loves you, and you're in the sexual prime of your life.
Yeah, I really need to get over this and do it soon. Thanks for that. Thanks for the push.
Okay. Really. So here's my advice. You got to sit down and try and talk to your partner about your sexual avoidance mechanisms, and give him a permission slip to actively involve you when you are sexually avoiding energies, so that you can get into a practice of 3 times per week minimum for the next 4 months.
Good. Thank you. I was thinking that, because I was feeling I should stick to a schedule. I wasn't.
That's 144 sexual encounters.
Yep.
I bet you haven't had that many sexual encounters your whole life.
I don't know.
I know. Okay.
Yes, you do. Okay. Yeah. Thank
What are you gonna do to hold yourself accountable? Me. I want by myself. I don't want to turn it on. What are you gonna do to stop that?
just open myself up, I think, because I feel like there's a block. Like
Obviously, there's a block.
yeah, like this
We know
is
there's a
sort of
block,
like
and
there's
it's
a
not just
plank.
about. It's not just about laying back and opening yourself up. That's the dead fish.
True.
Okay.
Yep.
You've got to actively engage him. You got to look him in the eyes.
Mm-hmm.
How often are you closing your eyes during most of the sexual scenarios? Most of it, I bet. Uh-huh. Not allowing the eye-to-eye, soul-to-soul connection.
I think this is definitely to do with the social and cultural programming as well.
Absolutely.
Because as you're saying that, it's like being Indian, how badly sex is seen in the society and how women can't ever say anything or do anything about it. It's just
but you can at any moment. You can at any moment. You've got a partner that loves you and is willing to explore.
No.
You've got to give him the right energy to say, hey, you're being a dead fish, wake up.
I should ask him to call me a dead fish every time.
Yes. Stop being the dead fish. This ain't no fun.
Yep.
Okay. You got to give him the right empowerment action. So when you're in the defensive, he's got the right words to motivate you.
I think, thanks for that. Cool.
Okay.
Yep.
Do you use toys?
No.
Why?
Never. I mean,
because you're embarrassed.
Yes.
Okay. For next mission I'm giving you, you and your husband, you and your partner are going to go to a sex toy shop.
Okay.
And no matter how embarrassed and red you feel, you're going to go in there and you're going to purchase something and come out and use it that same night.
Okay. Cool.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Do you watch porn?
No, not for past few years. No.
Okay. What did it do for you before?
Got me wet.
What did it do for you before?
Got me wet.
That was it?
And play with myself, yeah.
Okay.
And then I felt guilty afterwards because of cultural programming again. So there you go.
Okay. Plus, porn isn't real sex.
Yeah.
Which then confused you even more.
I think that's one of the reasons why I didn't want to watch it, because I always used to feel more than I could see. And
then you need to get porn that is for real lovers.
Yes.
Not the crap that's on Pornhub.
Yeah.
Okay?
Where do you get that?
The lovers stores. Ambiance is the one here in the United States. Okay? Create your own porn. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah, you're not watching it for the story.
Yeah.
You're blushing now. You're blushing now, aren't you?
Yes, I am. I'm like, hey, this is going to be live.
This is what you got to get into. You got to feel that blushing energy when you're in that intimate scenario.
Mm-hmm.
That's the real you coming out.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. And I don't know whether, well, I guess it's more to do with the cultural programming rather than me being
it's not just the cultural programming, it's you devaluing your own sexuality.
Also that, yeah.
And you got to start valuating it so you can have experiences that make some really long-lasting memories.
Yeah, it could be fun.
It is fun. That could be. It is fun. Okay? Have you ever had an orgasm that lasted 3 hours?
Not 3 hours. They do
You know
have
that's really common for a lot of women.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, it's your birthright.
Mm-hmm. I feel a lot of giddy energies, which is a good thing after a while.
Okay, when your partner comes home, go jump his bones.
He's downstairs.
Okay, when the call ends, come down there going, let's get it on. Can you do it?
Yeah.
Promise the whole
That's
audience.
the problem.
I want you to promise the whole audience.
Okay, I promise I will put my best effort into
You will do it and you will enjoy it.
Yes. I promise that I will do it and I will enjoy it. There you go.
And I won't devalue it.
And I won't devalue it.
And I will surprise the shit out of him and I won't be the dead fish.
And I will surprise the shit out of him. And I won't be the dead fish.
Okay. All righty. There you go. Time for you to go.
Oh, good God. Okay.
Okay. Don't wait. Just run down there.
Okay, then I gotta leave.
All right. Take it easy. Thank you for calling. Have a good
All right,
time.
thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for that. Bye-bye.
You're welcome. All right, everyone. This has been a really, really great show. Thanks a lot for everyone that's come and called in. We will be back this coming Thursday for another adventure into reality. All right, Robert, take us away.
Each different bubble of reality is true. A galactic is a person that looks at all lines from it. That's the mysterious complications because we do manifest reality.